Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism, and this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Tanya, and she sent in audio of her telling her story, which I always appreciate. So here we go.
My little sister texted me this past spring in May of 2022. She said, "Hey, if you need anything, we're here for you." When I got that message, I was surprised because I thought I had blocked her, but I guess I had not. I didn't block either of my sister. I had since blocked my two brothers, the ones I kept in contact with when I first went no contact, but they quickly proved to be enablers and flying monkeys for my parents and my sisters. And for some reason, I don't know how, I don't know why, but my two sisters, with my older sister being one of my primary abusers, along with my mom, my borderline mom, I did not block them. I blocked my parents, I blocked my grandmother. I eventually...
So Tanya's written in many, many times, okay, about her family. And listen, this seems like it's going down. You have to burn all bridges back to the narcissist. You just have to. It can't work. You can't keep anybody in your life that has any contact with your abusers. You just can't.
Block my brothers, but in 2022, both my sisters contacted me. First, it was my older sister. She left me a voicemail in February of 2022. And I remember I was grocery shopping, and I think I was in the middle of checking out, and suddenly I get a phone call. And it has her name, and I remember sort of the room spinning because I was confused in the moment. Why is she calling me, and how did she bypass the fact that I had blocked her? And
because if she got a new number, like these new numbers, they'll show a name on them. So even though like you have her old number, if she has a new number and she has your number, it'll come up on your caller ID a lot of times. Now these cell phones have your name attached to them.
It turns out I didn't block her, and I waited an hour. I sat in the car, I loaded my groceries, I waited an hour because she had left a voicemail. And I was like, what can it be? I thought the worst thing because first I was like, did I not block her? And I looked at the contact list, and sure enough, she was not blocked. And why is she calling me? She knows I'm no contact. I moved out of state a year and a half prior, and why is she contacting me? She knows I want nothing to do with her. I just left. I went no contact. I said nothing. The only people I told were my two brothers. So finally, after an hour, after running through different scenarios in my mind of what could possibly be the reason for my sister's call, I listened to the voicemail. And my sister leaves this very simple message to me. And she says something to the effect of, "Hey, it's me." But she doesn't say her name. She said, "Hey, it's me. I'm just reaching out. I haven't talked to you in a while. If you ever want to talk, call me sometime. Bye." So she didn't answer. She didn't identify my name. She didn't identify her name. It was kind of a bizarre message, but knowing my sister, I think in case I had changed my number and she was calling a stranger, she was probably trying to protect herself.
No, no. She's testing the waters. What she's doing there is basically trying to like let you think that you have an out. It's a power move. Of course you know who I am. Of course you know my voice. It's a power move. Don't fall for it.
Surprised she reached out because she was the first person out of my family to discard me. And she was the person I was closest with. I once considered her my best friend. I probably would have died for her. I would have laid down my life. That's how much I loved my sister. And at one time, her and I were super close during our teens and 20s. But sometime in my early 20s, the relationship began to erode. The more narcissistic she became, the more of a covert narcissist she became, the worse the triangulation got, the closer my sister got with our mom. I think for me, during childhood and adolescence, I could have, I guess, taken on my mom despite being the scapegoat. And even though I was still blamed for things and still treated like a joke, somehow I still had my sister. And once she aligned with my mom, everything went downhill for me. So this year, in 2022, both my sisters reached out to me. And I don't know why I didn't check my other sister, because I should have blocked her. But in May of this year, what did she write? I don't have it deleted yet. She said, "Hey, if you need anything, we're here for you." And I didn't respond. But it's so telling the way that she left the message for me, because she didn't use herself as the person I need to reach out to. She said, "We're here for you." So she's sending a message like she's a representative of the family. It's this group think.
Yeah, it's the messenger. You send out the rider horse, the carrier pigeon. Okay, that's all she is. That's all she is. She's the carrier pigeon. As if, because what they're saying is, we're ready to forgive you. She's basically telling you this is all your fault. Not, let's work this out. Hey, I know there's some bad air. There's bad blood. Like, hey, let's try to talk this out. No. We're here for you as if you have the problem. The problem is all yours. See, they need their supply back. I guarantee you they're at each other's throat. They're at each other, ripping each other apart. They're at each other's throat, and they got to suck Tanya back into it. But they got to bring you in as if you're the one who fucked up. It's all calculated. Every word that she says that they're all saying is pre-thought out and calculated.
Mentality of the closed system of a narcissistic family. We're here for you. It's very condescending because I'm 12 years older than my little sister. I used to babysit her when she was a baby, and I took care of her. I looked out for her. I provided for her. Even in my early 30s when I moved back and she was in her early 20s, and my parents no longer had, health insurance. So it had been years before my little sister had gone to the dentist. And I felt guilty because when we were growing up, we had regular dental checkups, and my little sister, I felt like she was getting left behind. When I moved back in 2013 to my home state of New York, where all my family lived except for my older sister, I thought it was my second chance, and I thought I could form these bonds, and all of the chaos and the abuse and the nonsense that happened before. I thought everyone had matured, and a lot of the obstacles that
these obstacles don't clear themselves. They don't mature. They don't grow up. They don't see the error of their ways. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Listen, it's natural. Okay, it's biological to want to have a family, to want to love your family, but it's just not in the cards. These people are toxic and they're never going to change. And even with you being no contact and states away now for what, 1.5 years, 2 years? How do they approach you? They approach you as if you're the problem and we're here to fix you. Condescending, okay, as if she is the experienced one here. Same attitude my brother would give to me. Same thing. 6 years younger than me, but yet he was better than me. Like he was a third parent.
That my mom used as an excuse to be abusive. A lot of those were no longer in play. But I didn't know that the borderline creates chaos and thrives in chaos and needs that constant state of disorder and
conflict. They need conflict. They need conflict at all times, because as long as there's conflict, they don't have to look in the mirror. That's all it's about. It's about projecting. It's about projecting their own worst traits onto everyone else so they don't have to look in the mirror and they don't have to be called out for being what they accuse others of being.
The borderline constantly needs an enemy so they can play the victim. So before I moved back in 2013, my little sister was in college. I think she was a sophomore or a junior at university. And I had been living out of state for 7 years. I moved back. I was single. And it was my second shot, my second chance. I thought I could have all these family moments. My 2 brothers were settling down and they were going to have children in the next couple of years. And one was getting married and all of these things were happening. And I wanted to be involved. I didn't want to miss out on all of these happy moments. At the same time, as I was planning my move back to my home state,
and then only to find out you're not missing out on anything but abuse. You think you're missing out on all these things. All you're missing out on is the abuse. That's it.
I was getting regular reports from my mom about how bad my little sister was. And my mom, the borderline, was on this campaign, this propaganda machine to convince everyone that my little sister was crazy and that she needed to be committed.
Well, now you're the crazy one, right? All they were trying to do was get their main target back. That's all they wanted, Tanya. That's all they wanted. They just were trying to set things how they had originally planned for them to be. The only thing you're missing out on is the abuse. Even if you think you're going back because your little sister is now the crazy one and you're going to fix it. No. You're being set up. You're being hoovered. You're being set up to have that target put right back on you so you could take your rightful place at the bottom rung.
That she needed medication, that she was crazy. And
everybody who doesn't want to do what the narcissistic borderline mother wants is crazy. Everybody, that's what they do. They love trying to get medication into you, committed, psych evals. That's what they do. And don't think they wouldn't want to do it to you too.
I do believe my little sister is a borderline, but I also believe
Sure she
at
is.
that time she was being scapegoated by my mom because I was not there.
Exactly.
And like a fool, I moved back thinking everything would be different.
Exactly.
And I felt sorry for my little sister. And I disagreed with my mom's very direct ways of calling my little sister crazy and that she needs medication and that she needs to go be hospitalized. My mom was just beating that drum, yet she was the borderline. She was the disordered one. She was the one making threats. She was the violent one. And all these things my little sister would later reveal to me once I resumed my role as a scapegoat. But for the first few months when I was back in New York in 2013, it was like the love bombing stage. My mom was so excited that I was moving back, and I was getting all this attention I never really got. And my mom was actually nice to me. From August, September, October, things were relatively okay. But by November, when Thanksgiving rolled around...
Well, by relatively, that means you're already seeing red flags. Meaning, your mother tried to be on her best behavior, but she really couldn't pull it off 100%. So the red flags were already there. You can't fix them. The only thing you're missing out on is the abuse you ran away from in the first place.
Things were declining. My mom was kind of showing who she was. There was cracks. She couldn't help herself. The borderline can only restrain themselves for so long. It was too irresistible. Here she was, the scapegoat right in front of her, me. And I remember when I moved back, my mom, in the first few months, it was nothing but bad-mouthing my little sister. My little sister was the devil, according to her. Well, she didn't call her that, but she treated her like she was some sort of evil criminal. And my little sister couldn't take it because she was being emotionally abused, verbally abused by my mom. So she was acting out.
Like my brother. When I first moved out with Tommy, January 1st of 1997, I told my brother, I'm like, it's only going to take a few months, Michael, but you're going to find out. Because I'm not here every day now. I'm not going to be around for them and their bullshit. And it's only a matter of time before you get it. And boy, lo and behold, if it didn't take 4 months before my parents were turning my brother and his friends into the fucking police because they found a marijuana seed in his car. It's all it took. It's all it took. Thus ruining his entire senior year. All his friends turned against him. They vandalized his car. He had to hang out with underclassmen, okay, then over a seed. Why? Because I wasn't around. They would never have, my mother would never even have thought to look through his car if I was still living at home. Would never have happened. Never. Never in a million years. Same thing that happened with your sister. Same thing.
My little sister was not crazy. She didn't need medication. She was just being abused. And I felt bad for her, and I tried to stick up for her. And I would just get the side eye from my mom. But what I didn't know what was going to happen, I could never have foreseen. I didn't know that my little sister was all too happy for me to resume my scapegoat role.
Of course.
I thought my little sister could see me as an ally. And because my mom was seemingly okay for the first few months, I didn't see the warning signs and the danger that lay ahead. My sister, by this time, my older one, had discarded me years ago. I just was in denial about it. She treated me so poorly, constantly being hot and cold with me, tugging at my heartstrings, stonewalling me, playing with me, toying with me, gaslighting me. She loved to see my reaction, my response. She loved to see me hurt. My sister, my older one, is the classic covert narcissist, and very intelligent and very skilled at her abusive tactics. But she often goes unnoticed, and she likes to use or abuse by proxy, typically using my mom against me, knowing I had been the scapegoat since childhood. Back to my little sister. In the short few months I was back in New York, somehow I quickly became the scapegoat again, and my little sister was back in the fold with my mom and my older sister. Their alliance seemed to resume. It almost happened overnight. I was shocked at how quickly I was being blamed for things and yelled at. And things came to a head when my sister came into town for Thanksgiving that November. That's when my mom assaulted me. She threw a hard-boiled egg in my head after I disagreed with her for getting into an argument at the grocery store with someone. I couldn't support it. I thought as an adult I could disagree with her.
No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to disagree with the narcissist. Hence, now you're crazy. And now you're public enemy number one, which is just what she wanted in the first place. Now she had you.
And we could have a grown-up disagreement. No.
Nope.
My mom threw the egg when she was standing behind me in the kitchen. I was sitting in the kitchen chair across from my sister, the older one who was in town. My mom hurled the egg as hard as she could at the back of my head and ran to her room and slammed the door.
Typical borderline. Typical violent borderline. They'll throw anything, they'll say anything, stomp out, slam doors, and then play the victim. No, you're fucked up because you didn't agree with her. That she believes that. She believes that. She'll take that to her grave.
I touched my head, the back of my head, in the sudden pain as I saw the egg rolling on the floor. I looked up at my sister, confused and shocked. And I think I asked her, why did she do that? My sister glared at me, and she said, "You only have yourself to blame. You shouldn't have said that to her."
There you go. There you go. And there it is. There it is. Okay. There's the fucking moment where the golden child who you think is now on your side, that you've come to an understanding, then turns around and fucking drives that knife into your fucking back. And then acts like you're crazy. I don't know what are you talking about? You know, mom's wonderful. You're the problem, Tanya. This is why. The only thing you're messing out on is the abuse. That's it. The only thing you're missing out on is the abuse. That's it.
So I was getting no pity from my sister, despite her witnessing our mom assaulting me.
Yeah, she just saw the target back. There it is. There's the target, Tanya. It's right back on. It's on the back of your head. Perfect. Why is she going to help you now? Oh, target's on you now. Now she's pissed. She's throwing shit, hit you in the head, stomped off, slammed the door. Perfect. That's exactly where she wanted shit to be.
And then the next month, my role as scapegoat was solidified. For months, I had been learning how awful my little sister was. And I felt bad for her, and I tried to advocate for her like I did as a child. By this point, it had been roughly 10 years since my little sister, joined the alliance of my mom and my older sister. She joined them in excluding me, and gaslighting me, and abusing me, and blaming me.
And you moved back for this. And you moved back.
Things were true, and yet I was still hopeful that things would be different, that one day it would be different. But when I moved back to New York, all of our former roles slowly were resuming. And I was shocked to see the dynamics revert back to how they had been the 10 years prior. And how I suddenly was the bad guy again. Almost overnight, all of the love and the attention my mom had been giving me.
They're just waiting for the moment. It is overnight because they're just lying in wait for the moment where they could do the heel turn. Where they could do the heel turn like in professional wrestling when your tag team partner hits you in the head with a friggin' steel chair and joins the other side. You thought you were missing out on something. You thought they had changed. You thought, no.
Somehow that was gone. And I remember I didn't know about narcissism at the time.
Nobody
did. I was so
did.
confused at what was happening and how was I to be blamed for everything again? How was I at fault? How could I not say anything right or do anything right anymore? It was so confusing. And during this time, I felt bad for my little sister because, my parents, they weren't making as much money as they were when we were growing up. So my little sister didn't have the latest iPhone, and her birthday was in October, and I bought her the iPhone, and I ended up paying her monthly phone bill because she was in college. And I didn't want her to feel left out with her friends. I wanted her to have something nice.
Sucker. You're a sucker. You can't buy their love. They're just going to expect more. They're just going to expect more. What happens when the next iPhone gets released? I was just going to want one of those too. I guarantee it.
To my detriment, I ended up paying that phone bill for 5 years. Well after my sister had graduated college and she was working. And she refused to pay for her phone. She said that it wasn't her fault that I had given it to her. And I actually bought her 2 phones. I bought her that phone in 2013, and then I bought her another one, I think, in 2015.
What did I just say? And then why didn't you just cut the service? Just drop it. You could have just dropped it. What do you think? She was going to get madder at you? She's going to treat you worse?
But I paid her phone bill for 5 years. And I remember, I'm jumping ahead here. I'll get back to 2013 in a minute. But it was 2018. And my sister, I was very depressed because I was so abandoned and simultaneously abused by my family, that I was just treated like a second-class citizen. And when I become depressed, there's not much life in me. I don't have energy for...
That's everybody when they get depressed. That's why this is so debilitating. It's meant to depress and demoralize you, because depressed and demoralized people are easier to control. Doesn't matter if it's your narcissist. It doesn't matter if it's the freaking government. That's how it works. When you're depressed and demoralized, you're easy to control.
For life. And so my little sister came to my townhouse unannounced, and my home was a mess. I had not cleaned it. I was working 60 to 80-hour weeks. I just didn't have time to tidy up and clean. My little sister came over, and she would come over usually when she would be in a fight with our mom.
Of course.
And
of course, like I said in the last video I just did, every time they have a fight, it's like the first time. And you got to remind them of the shit that went down. That they're just there to suck your energy. That's it.
Despite her not giving me any heads up, she just came over. Oftentimes, she just let herself in because she had the key. Yes, I gave her a key. She came over.
Don't give them the keys to your boundaries. I mean, that's another video I just did. You violate, and this is after you had already been away from them, because you thought you were missing out. This is what you were missing out on: abuse.
And she would be nice at first, and then she would pick a fight with me, and she would just have this narcissistic rage and just explode on me. And she would just hurl all these accusations, and I was so depressed. I didn't have the energy. I did my best to defend myself, but here I had this like little Tasmanian devil in my house, you know, screaming at me, hurling insults, yelling. And my little sister became abusive, physically abusive, just like my mom.
Because she thinks she is your mom. See, they always think these types of siblings, they always see themselves as a third parent. And they will act exactly identically to when they don't get their way and when they think you've disrespected them.
She started throwing soda cans at me. I had the little mini soda cans.
They always loved throwing shit. My mother loved throwing shit. My mother would throw videotapes at me, fucking forks, knives, not fucking sharp, like butter knives. My mother would throw anything. She was a thrower. Never a vodka bottle, though. No. Nah, not a vodka bottle. Never the booze. Never threw the booze.
A Coca-Cola. She started throwing those at me, at my head. And then she started filming my house and taking pictures and saying that she was going to post it everywhere and show everyone what a mess my house was. And I was desperately trying to have her stop. And finally I got mad. And that's when the surge of energy came. And I finally said, I pay for your phone. Give me the phone. You have no right to this phone. I pay for it. And I've been paying for that phone for 5 years. Both the monthly bill and the 2 phones I bought for her. And she had been working. She had graduated college. She had been working. She could pay for herself, and she refused. So it took another month because she refused to call Sprint and get her own line and disconnect from me. She said it wasn't her fault that I gave her the gift, that it was my fault that I gave her the gift, but apparently she thought it was a perpetual gift. I don't know, it was like $3,000-$4,000 if you add it all up.
I'm sure it was. Entitled.
Maybe more. I'm not sure.
Well, why didn't you just drop her? You could have just called up Sprint or whoever your carrier was and said, I need to drop this number. Deactivate it. It's been that simple. Be that simple.
Dollars. And so finally, after a month, she finally had her own plan, and I finally got her off my plan. There was this young woman in her early 20s refusing to get off my phone plan, expecting me to pay for her. That's how untitled she was.
Yep.
I was the scapegoat again. I had been the scapegoat for 5 years at that point again. I had resumed my role. My little sister could abuse and mistreat me.
Everybody can. And you thought you were missing out on something.
So many times I was there for her when they were cruel to her. She would come over my house, and she would sometimes tell me the things my mom and my older sister would say behind my back. But I knew she would always run back to them. I was just used as a pawn, as a means to an end. But I was not allowed any boundaries.
Well, it's hard to have boundaries when you're giving them keys to your house.
Basically, when I moved back the first couple years, despite my little sister being mean to me, I took her to my dentist, and she had 7 cavities. And me and my brother, we split the bill. I think it was $1,400, and ended up being like $1,000 a person or something like that. But it all adds up after a while. And when we were looking out for her, she was the baby. I looked out for her. I cared for her. Meanwhile, she was, really close with my older sister, although they would fight like cats and dogs because they were very similar. And they would go on these trips. I used to travel with my older sister. She was my best friend. And I remember how sad I felt for my little sister when I was like in my teens and early 20s, that she was seemingly an only child and she didn't have like a sibling close to her age. Little did I know what was waiting for me just a few short years later, that I would be the odd man out, that I would be excluded from vacations and trips and your normal sisterly fun stuff that you do.
It's the way it always works. It's the way it always works.
They loved excluding me. They just got a rise out of it. And silly me, I would just try to win them back, and I would organize baseball nights in my older sister's honor, and she would just sabotage it. And
the harder you try, the more they're going to sabotage you. It's your effort that they get off on, and their ability to crush your effort.
I would do things to include them. I never wanted anyone to feel left out, because I know how it felt. And yet it was like this double standard. They were allowed to do it to me, and I was just trying to like win them back and chase my own siblings. So my little sister, all the times I was there for her, I supported her, even when by 2019, I was so over it. I was done with the family. I had no bandwidth left for them. I gave them zero supply. And when I basically, I guess by default, started gray rocking them, and I was just depressed. And I had some good things happen in my life when I changed jobs, and I started traveling more, and I went overseas for a couple of weeks. family started finding these things out secondhand. But in 2019, my little sister kind of became the scapegoat once I gave them zero. Once they could no longer use me as fuel for their supply. She became their scapegoat.
Again?
Handle it. And
so every time you're out of the picture, your little sister becomes the scapegoat. Only thing you're missing out on is abuse. That's it.
She stood on top of a building and was going to jump. At least that's what she told me.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. She's a borderline. Borderlines rarely kill themselves, and when they do, it's because they fucked up. She wants the attention. She wants the attention. She's putting it out there to bring her target back. Do not fall for it. Stop feeling pity for her. Stop. Stop. You bought her a cell phone, okay, and she abused you over it for 5 years and had this entitlement. You bought me a gift, so now you got to pay it for the rest. Why would you feel bad for this person? Her mind is warped.
Now I question everything because she's a borderline. And borderlines always pretend they're going to kill themselves.
You know this. So you already know.
She has the two worst characteristics of my mom and my older sister because she's a borderline, but she's also clever, like my covert narcissist sister. I remember after she confessed to me that Thanksgiving night, after mom and my older sister attacked her, that she was going to jump from the building. And I had been really trying to distance myself from the family at that point. My little sister was being used as a flying monkey for my mom because my mom noticed I was trying to kind of distance myself and not go to the house and not really give my family any time. And so my little sister was being used as a proxy to, like she did with the text message, you know, we're here for you. And she was trying to guilt me to go spend time with my parents. And I did something I typically don't do. I cut her off and I said, how can you say that to me? I said, weren't you the one pushed to the limit? Didn't you almost take your life because mom and our sister were mistreating you so badly?
Now you're blowing it out of proportion, I bet.
And I'll never forget it. There was a pause, and she calmly told me, just like my sister who's older than me, she said, I've moved past it. And I'll never forget it. That's when I realized, wow, she's going to be with them for life.
Of course. Of course. She ain't moved past it. If she moved past it, she wouldn't be looking to put the target back on you.
If that's not going to wake her up and show her how abusive
they don't want to be woken up.
Our family is.
They don't want to be woken up. They want the dynamic put back to how it was originally, with you as the centerpiece, black sheep. That's what they want. They like it. They like it like that.
How isolating they are, how they can push you to the limit. If that's not going to wake her up, and if she's going to go back to that, all she was trying to do was real.
She's a borderline. She can't be fixed. She's an adult. She's made her choice. She knows this shit is wrong. She chooses to do it anyway. Just like your mother. She likes it. Like my mother. My mother liked she didn't like the abuse she got from her mother, but she sure as fuck liked the power her mother had. She wanted it. She wanted it so fucking bad. She wanted it.
Me back in, just like in 2013, and then later in 2019, She wanted me to be the scapegoat again. That was her primary goal. And perhaps maybe now, 2 years after I've gone no contact, maybe that's why she's contacting me again. Maybe she's the scapegoat again.
Of course she is. Of course she is. What do you think? They're all just living as one big happy fucking family? It's all great. Tanya's gone. This time we're all... No! She's getting the shit knocked out of her, and she's trying to fucking hoover you back in again. Ignore it. Block it. Block it. Don't acknowledge it.
It's all self-preservation. Just like my brothers, the enablers, didn't like all the attention they got when I went no contact. I'm sure my little sister's being scapegoated again. But it's so condescending for her to say, you know, we're here for you. Like she's a representative. Like I need them.
Of course it is. That's the whole point. She wants you back, but she can't tell you you're right. She's got to do it on her terms.
It's completely discounting why I left. She knows why I left. She knows why I went no contact. Why would I need them? They just have this narrative painted that I'm this loser who needs them. And no contact has not been easy for me.
It's not easy for anybody, Tanya, but it has to be done. Because the only thing that's waiting for you back there is more abuse. And they're just running the same fucking playbook. I told you this. The narcissist runs the same fucking playbook. You could tell me, I could tell you what they're going to do. Same formation, same snap count. Okay? Hit the A gap like a motherfucker. Why? Because you're unable to stop it. You know their playbook. They don't have any real trick plays. They have their set playbook that they're going to fucking run every time.
But I'm trying to hold strong. And I know that I have nothing good waiting for me if I ever go back. Because I've gone back once when I moved back home. And the abuse was amplified. And I see the tricks that my little sister plays. She just wants me to resume my role. And they're just not used to me staying silent. They're not used to me holding strong because I always caved. I always forgave, regardless of the level of abuse, the level of trauma. I was expected to not talk about it, not acknowledge it. We would just see each other again and pretend like nothing happened. And they want the same. They just want me to go back and pretend like nothing happened so that they can abuse me again and I can resume my role.
Yep.
That's all they want.
Yep.
They just want to control me. And I just need to be the scapegoat again. Well, I just wanted to talk about my little sister and how no matter how much love you can give someone, if they align themselves with the enemy, they are the enemy. And my little sister proved that to me time and time again. But because I watched her grow up and I'm 12 years older than her, I was unwilling to let that go. And I thought something would allow her to wake up and see that nothing was going to change.
Never going to happen.
She herself was victimized.
Never going to happen.
But in 2019, when she threatened to take her life, and that was not enough of a wake-up call for her to see the extent of the abuse perpetrated by our mom and our sister. If that wasn't going to wake her up, nothing ever will. And her sole goal is to be the flying monkey. And she's abused me herself. She's physically attacked me. She's thrown objects at me. She's hurled insults. She's made up lies. She's made up these really terrible lies about me. And she's also exposed them, my mom and my sister, of what they say behind my back when she gets mad at them. But I can't play that game anymore because none of it was real. There's no friendship there. There's no love. There's no safety. There's no trust. You're just walking on eggshells. You're just walking on landmines. Eggshells are too.
There's only abuse.
Would be actually
the only thing waiting for you when you break no contact is abuse. That's it.
Kind of nice. These are landmines because you never know which landmine you're going to step on to set everything off. And you're just never safe with them. You're always on guard because they're not your friends, they're your enemies. They're not even your family. You're just the target, the vehicle for their supply.
Yup.
And they will exploit you, control you, and control your image for all your days. It's not worth it. And sometimes I gaslight myself and I think maybe I could go back. But I already tried that once. It's not worth it because they've already shown me who they are.
You can never go back. You can never go back. Never, never, never. There is no going back. Ever. Yeah, that sucks, but that's reality. Because the only thing waiting for you is more abuse.
The incentive for them to change. The only incentive they have is to hoover me back in for me to resume my role as scapegoat. And I'm unwilling to do that. I won't give them one more minute because they've wasted enough of my life and they've stolen enough of my life and they've stolen family I will never get back. So I'm going to end it here.
Well, it's not really much more for me to say on this, you know, that hasn't been said already. You know, I hope you're able to stay strong, Tanya, because, you know, you've been with me for a while. You know, this is 2019. It makes sense. About a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years later, now they're looking. Now they're looking to hoover you back in, and you cannot fall for it. Okay, because they haven't changed. They haven't seen the light. They're not sorry. Okay, they don't want forgiveness. They just want to dish out the same abuse they have been dishing out to you for your entire life. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for another contribution and story, Tanya. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal or Zelle and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism. Take care, everybody.